Fed's Collins say that rates are close to possibly at peak level. So maybe we stay higher for longer, which might be restrictive. Maybe rate cuts don't come in. But as you will hear in our show, Worldview, some point of time this week, we've gotten Dr. Edward Yardeni, who's got some very interesting views on what Fed will do as well. So all of that will come up. In other news, oil has fallen marginally, around 2% or thereabouts, after Saudi pledge to help stabilize the market in wake of the Middle Eastern tensions. Bitcoin dropped below $27,000 with the Middle East conflict weighing in on sentiment. But the Asian Pacific markets or the Asian Pacific stocks have largely risen ahead of the key US inflation data, led no doubt by what the US markets did overnight. What did the US markets did overnight, or rather in trade yesterday? Again, a day of a bit of a recovery with the Nasdaq being up 0.71% higher, which is a good sign. The other cues haven't changed too much. So you will see the yields still at about 4.5. What is it? Yes, the 10-year yield is at 4.56 or thereabouts. So the volatility was stable. I mean, dollar index at 105 half. So no changes there per se. But yes, the 10-year yield has come down, if you will, from 4.84 at a point of time to 4.56, which might be construed positively. I reckon in line with the rest of the Asian markets, the Indian markets will probably start off marginally higher. But remember, we've put in some bit of gains behind us. So in some sense, don't know how much further. Now, I've been proven wrong, thankfully, because I thought there will be a very difficult case to make for sustained gains. And we had a bit of a gain yesterday, though we did not do an encore of what we did in trade on Tuesday, which is something that I stay vindicated by. But yes, we've had good gains in trade yesterday as well. In fact, the gains are now being led by non-banking stocks, which is a positive because hitherto the bank Nifty was putting its weight. Yesterday we had some IT names, Reliance Industries, all of them come to the fore. In fact, the energy index gains were led by Reliance, but it's difficult to predict the continuity on that front. I think where it is possible to probably predict a bit of a continuity, though this morning may be different because this morning you will still have TCS being maybe a bit ho-hum. But if Infosys and HCL Tech deliver, then you might well have a good showing by IT, which might just help the support or give the support to the markets. In yesterday's trade as well, and look at the list of the price and volume movers, and this is the derivatives of the FNO list, therefore the more liquid names. Look at Wipro, 3.5% higher. So we've had IT sporadically come and give the support to the markets in the last few days. Can that continue if Infosys and HCL Tech in particular deliver? That remains to be seen. Vodafone Idea, City Union Bank, Hero MotoCorp are some of the other notable movers. Now, viewers, just keep in mind, and we'll talk about the other aspects as well, but keep in mind specifically for HCL Technologies. And the reason I bring this up is because I remember in the last quarter, after a tepid quarter, HCL Tech guided to a strong number for the rest of the year, which meant the constant quarterly growth rate substantially higher. Now the brokerages estimate HCL Tech to deliver about a 2% growth. If it manages to beat that, then that is good news. If it doesn't beat it, then the guidance that HCL Tech will give for quarter 3 and quarter 4 will be substantially higher. And I think in both cases, HCL Tech might just stand to benefit. So do watch out for that IT major in particular at the end of today's trade in terms of the numbers that it delivers. Based on what it said at the end of quarter 1, you probably set for a strong quarter 2, and if not a strong quarter 2, then a very strong second half, which might be positive for that stock. So keep that in mind. By the way, speaking of positivity, there's a new kid on the block which will list today, small cap name, but look at the kind of subscription that it had, and therefore watch out for Plaza buyers listing today. Earnings today include HCL Tech, include Infosys, HDFC AMC. Then you have Anand Rathi Wealth and Angel One from the fintech variety, if you will, or financial names. Kesoram Industries and Kintech Renewables. Now, Kintech is a interesting stock in that it's been on an upper circuit now for the last many weeks. It's been on this consistent 2% uptick now for so many days. It is arguably going to be a platform which is in which the investments have been done by the APL Apollo Group, and which is why that stock is very active. But please be careful. Do not buy it just because the stock has been on an uptick or because a good name is associated. Do your own due diligence and research before you get into it. But it could be an interesting stock, an interesting set of numbers to monitor. Maybe the numbers don't do too much and the stock still does what it does. But yeah, we'll certainly watch out for that. So from large names like Infosys and HCL Tech and HDFC AMC, completely unknown names like Kintech, it's an interesting day of earnings today. Now, stocks to monitor in the session today. First one is TCS, of course. Just to recap the numbers, revenues were up 0.52%, hardly any growth there, but the EBIT margin surprised 24.26 versus estimates of 23.78, arguably due to lower employee expenses and other expenses. As a result of which the PAT was up 2.42% at 11,342. The estimates were 11,372 crores. So the numbers very ho-hum. I mean, just hardly any revenue growth, and which is what Nomura seems to be suggesting when they have a reduced rating on the stock. They say that the sluggish growth persists for TCS and the near-term visibility remains low, which is a problem. The revenue missed estimates too, weaker than consensus expectation of 1% quarter-on-quarter constant currency growth. The EBIT margin was higher than consensus estimates, as I said. The point is, Nomura has a reduce. You look at any other brokerage worth its salt, they don't necessarily have any positive view. So Jefferies and Morgan Stanley have an equal weight and a hold. JP Morgan has an underweight. HSBC as a whole. The target prices vary across brokerages. And it's very difficult to call what could TCS per se do. But here's the thing, viewers. And I think the note from HSBC is very interesting, wherein they are talking about how despite the fact that TCS has got this very high TCV, why is growth not coming? Because growth is led not just by the large deals, but also by the flow business, which is scope expansion, smaller deals, etc., which are very important. And all of these have slowed down due to the macro uncertainties. And if those remain, then there is a question mark on growth. And independent of what the deal flow is, if growth doesn't come, it's a problem. And which is where I think the problem for TCS is that at 27, 28 times, will people see value? Now, it may well have a bit of a pop. You never know, there's this buyback element or the fact that IT is looking strong. But I really doubt that at 27, 28 times, people will see certain value in TCS and make it a beeline for it versus a lot of other things available. So keep that in mind. Most of the brokerages, the commentary around the brokerage notes as well, not necessarily the strongest. So TCS, a bit to be desired. Delta Corp, revenues up 0.23%, margins flattish, net profit flattish. I think more than the results, all eyes will be on what Delta Corp does in quarter 3. So quarter 2 is a bit of a forgotten quarter because with all the changes that have happened, can the busy season, which is the festive season and the tourism season, do the trick for Delta Corp? I think it will show in the numbers. So the stock had a one big day in the last 4 or 5. I really doubt today will be a big day in terms of reaction, on the upside at least. Maybe on the downside, but certainly not on the upside. Zaggle, the numbers are weak, but the guidance, revenue growth for the fiscal year is still in the range of 40 to 50%, which augurs very well. So remains to be seen. I would suspect that the street might want to look at the guidance as opposed to just what is done in terms of delivery for the quarter. So do watch out for that one. Sami Hotels was a bit surprising and strange to me in terms of the YOY numbers delivery. These are reported numbers at the end of quarter 1, but usually you would expect hotel companies to have had a very strong quarter 1, even quarter 2. That is what is expected of Indian hotels and some of the others. I'm a bit surprised with Sami and left to some anomalies. I would suspect that the stock could see a bit of a corrective move. Let's wait and watch. Signature Global Q2 update was interesting. They've come out with Q1 numbers and Q2 update. The pre-sales were up 4.23%, but collections were strong. And the net debt at the end of H1 was 369 versus 879. So while the Q1 update was very lackadaisical, the Q2 update seems okay. And the net debt number delivery also seems to be okay. So let's see how this one does. Aster DM Healthcare could be interesting. Bloomberg reports that its $1.5 billion India unit has drawn significant interest for a sale. So watch out for this one. Pravec has won an order for developing cottages in Daman, so watch out for this one. PCBL has gotten 2 India patents for carbon black treatment process. Maybe that one reacts. And EMS has been awarded a contract of 270 crores from Jaipur Heritage's municipality for a period of 10 years. So not necessarily to be finished in 1 year. And therefore, any unwarranted optimism should be tempered. It's good news, but it's spread over 10 years. So keep that at the back of the mind. So a few stocks that might react. TCS maybe a little bit. Zaggle maybe a little bit. Praveg maybe a little bit. And Aster DM maybe a little bit. So watch out for each of these. Vedanta has some newspaper reports about how there might be some interest from some corporate buyers into its steel business. So do watch out for Vedanta as well in the session today. And a few other, the new listing, which is Plaza Buyers, and some companies which come out of the results today could well be in focus. So watch out for all of these in trade. There are some interesting conversations today on BQ Prime. So we, of course, have the usual conversations around trade talk, etc. There is a talking point conversation that will come in with Mrinal Singh of Incred. So do keep an eye out for that. The TCS management speaks to BQ Prime today. So you might want to tune in for a conversation that my colleague Sajid Mangat will have with the MD and CEO of TCS. So that is to be watched out for. And of course, the FNO show will bring forward derivative strategies. So tune in for that as well. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Trade Setup.